I was futzing around looking for something to watch, and I stumbled upon, how could you miss it, the hype train in Boulder, Colorado, as a matchup between the Bison and the Buffaloes. Rocky Mountains is where we go, a full slate of Thursday college football as the weekend gets going here. Now, one game, though, did stand out head and shoulders above the rest. I already mentioned it. I think you know where I'm going here. It was lights, camera, action for Deion Sanders 2.0, his second season as coach in Colorado. Now, Shedeur Sanders being hyped up as a Heisman candidate, fattened up the stat sheet. He had 445 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 of them to receiver and projected top draft pick in the NFL, Travis Hunter. Colorado dodging an upset, though. They almost lost this game. You could say, well, they can't have a lead, and the other team scored late, but it was North Dakota State. North Dakota State, the final score was 31-26 in the game on Thursday night. So let us discuss, what are your first impressions of Deion Sanders 2.0 at Colorado? So I've got Old Tree Stump, Presidential, and Cold Stone Creamery. And we will combine all of these things together, and we're going to do some tidying up is what we're going to do. So number one. I see you jump the gun. Number one. Oh, see there. The timing was perfect that time. Amazing. So let's start here. Prime time. He might not admit this. We can't ask him because he hates the media. But prime time needed a glass of whiskey or scotch or bourbon after this game because, wowzers, North Dakota State was in position for a monumental upset. The Bison had the lead. I don't know if you were watching. They had the lead at halftime. Now, they're only up by 3, but it was 20-17 at halftime. And some guy I've never heard of, Cam Miller, the quarterback there, had a couple of rushing touchdowns, and he also threw for a touchdown. And I would put that in the humbling category for Colorado with all the bravado and all the razzmatazz to be trailing at halftime, and for the brash Deion Sanders, while Colorado did win the game, this is an old tree stump. It's hollow. Ergo, a hollow victory. Disappointing. Somewhat emasculating. I wasn't impressed at all. Why was I not impressed? Colorado is supposed to be a monster with the 2 big studs, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, both projected to be top draft picks in the NFL. And here they were at home. Now they're playing. It's a great team. Well, it was a D2 school. Yeah, but they're really good. Okay, fine. But couldn't even cover the spread. Colorado was a 10.5-point favorite. They trailed at halftime and really couldn't shake the workmanlike North Dakota State Bison in this game. And if Colorado is going to do anything, I think they have to play a little defense, as they did not. If you saw the game, North Dakota State put up more first downs than Colorado. They had essentially 450 yards. They were one yard away. They averaged 11 yards per pass play and had 150 yards on the ground. I mean, they controlled the ball. They had the ball in terms of time of possession. Now, Colorado's offense was great. They had 500 yards and all that, but the fact that your defense allowed North Dakota State to run up and down the field and all around, embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing for Deion Sanders. That was an issue last year. Looks like more of the same. Colorado, my first knee-jerk reaction is they're like some of these USC teams we've seen recently where they have a great offense and terrible defense. So it's one thing crosses out the other. All right, now page 2. We pivot to Cincinnati, the birthplace of Skyline Chili, and back to our meat and potatoes in the NFL, our ongoing in-depth team coverage of bad blood. Is it true that Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase, his contract dispute is on the verge of going nuclear? Well, so here's my position. The plot thickens. That's my position, right? Just about everything involving this story is heading one direction, right? And the direction is, man, is this a bad situation? And Jamar Chase is going to lose his marbles here because all these other guys are getting paid. The arms race has yet to end. It has been a month-long partay. Every once in a while, if you watch game shows, they have that money booth where somebody will go into a booth and they'll put a bunch of money in there and they'll have a fan blow the money around, right? And it's a good gimmick, and then people have to get as much money as they can in like 30 seconds or a minute, and they have to use their bare hands and all that. And whatever they get to keep. But that's what's going on in the NFL right now. It's turned into this high-stakes game of can you top this, and everyone's ending up a winner. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk this week got paid, wide receivers, contemporaries of the Cincinnati receiver. So I do believe that in this case, the case of Jamar Chase, this is definitely a box. What's in the box? That would be a tinder box. Now, that said, after a thorough review and years of observing in the wild, out on the Serengeti, the Bengals and their owner, the 89-year-old Mike Brown, who I know he doesn't really do a lot day-to-day, but he's still there, and his family's running the team. But they have followed the Bengals in my entire life. When you pull back the curtain, they have followed the 33rd presidential model. Harry S. Truman. The buck stops here, right? The emotions play out and feelings get hurt. But Cincinnati does not have to pay Jamar Chase until next offseason. And the Bengals are one of those teams that have been grandfathered in. It's old family money. It's old family money. And those teams operate different than the teams that have new, younger owners. There's a mix. Most of the teams in the NFL, it seems like, most of the teams have old family money ownership. It's been around a long time. Cincinnati's on that short list. All right, final point. Our next stop, we go to the Media Musings Department. The Media Musings Department, new season means several new faces on television, including a former NFL coach and former linebacker getting gigs. Question for the esteemed panel, what do you expect from former Commanders and Carolina Panthers coach Ron Rivera and former Saints linebacker, more notorious for his days at Notre Dame, Manti Te'o, as they have become NFL broadcasters at the Pravda news service of the NFL Network? So I expect Ron Rivera and Manti Te'o it's like a trip to Cold Stone Creamery. If you enjoy the very vanilla smoothie with extra vanilla on top of vanilla, you're going to love these guys. Ron Rivera, and I might be wrong, there's maybe somebody that paid more attention. I heard a lot of Ron Rivera, but I didn't hear every news conference. I don't ever remember him being interesting. I don't. And I did this show his entire head coaching career. I was on Fox Sports Radio his entire time as an NFL coach, a head coach, and he was always in Dolesville. And then I look at Manti Te'o, and outside of him serving up like a fish fry with catfish, I don't think he's going to say anything memorable. So the Maller hypothesis continues to be that these gents will continue on the legacy of jockocracy, the very low standards, which is just usually a grab bag of cliches and some meathead lingo and give me a Y, give me an A, give me a W, give me an N. Yeah, that spells yawn if you don't know what that's supposed to. All right, now maybe I'll be wrong here, but I'm just not going to hold my breath on this. And to be fair, I'm not going to watch too much of this content anyway on state-sponsored NFL media. But as a rule of thumb, and I have big thumbs, as a rule of thumb, the jocks, the ex-jocks that get into broadcasting on television, they're good at two things. What are those two things? They're good at filler and fluff. Filler and fluff. Really good at that. Really, really good.